guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we have another beautiful recipe for you all today. We are jumping on the bandwagon and we are making the viral Dubai chocolate. However, we are Laurenifying it and we're putting it into a cookie. So we're not going to just make the chocolate bar, we're going to pop the actual contents inside the cookie. Yum, 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 yum. So, first things first, you will need kataifi pastry. However, after about 3 hours of driving around my town trying to find this bloody pastry, I could not find it for the life of me. So I've opted with filo. This isn't traditional by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we are putting it into a cookie as it is, so we're already doing something different. But yeah, we are using filo because we could not find it anywhere else. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to chop up my roll of filo. So this is already thawed. I bought it from my local fresh produce shop. Now I'm using about half of the roll. I don't want to use too much. We are only we're doing a half batch of cookies today. We're not doing a full batch. I will leave the all of the contents of, what am I saying? I will leave all of the quantities below, but in terms of a full batch and a half batch, I'll leave that below as well. So just in case you do want to double the recipe, you absolutely can. I have a feeling today is going to be an interesting video because I can't get my words out, and that's not ideal when you're trying to teach someone a recipe. So bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm just roughly chopping up this filo pastry into sort of little squares, rectangles, that kind of thing, just because what we're going to do is we're going to fry it in some butter, and we essentially want the pieces to be lovely and small and crispy so that we can sort of replicate the kataifi pastry, which is essentially what you would kind of use. I have seen a few people use rice vermicelli. I very nearly bought it. I was very convinced, but part of me just thought it's uncooked rice, and I don't know, I just don't think that would be very good for a sensitive tummy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it would be, I think it would replicate the texture and the crunch, but I don't think it would taste very nice or be very comfortable for anyone that, like myself, has a bit more of a sensitive tummy. So, as you can see, I've kind of chopped up my filo, and I am just going to pop it all into this bowl, and then I'm just going to take it to the stove and pop it in my saucepan with a nice good chunk of butter. Now that's, you know, probably 10-20 grams. So we're just going to pop this on a low to medium heat with all of our filo pastry and continuously stirring this around the pot until you've got a lovely golden colour to the pastry, nice and crispy. All right, so my lovely filo pastry, as you can hear, is nice and crispy now. We've just lightly toasted it. Be conscious, or be careful, I should say, because it does catch quite quickly. So just be very, very mindful. So we've now toasted all of that goodness. Then comes the fun part, which I think is essentially the best part of what makes a pistachio cookie the most amazing, delicious thing ever, is the one and only pistachio cream. So we are using this gorgeous wee pistachio puppy. Now, you can get any pistachio cream that you want anywhere. There are so many different brands, but my loyal favorite brand is this pistachio puppy spread here. Now, this is actually my third jar, guilty. It is that delicious. It is so good. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour our pistachio cream into our toasted filo pastry. Now, you kind of want to do this whilst it's hot, because one of the main ingredients in the pistachio cream is white chocolate. It essentially melts pretty quickly once it's in this warm, delicious filo pastry. So once we've got all of our cream out of there, we give this a good old mix through. Now, don't be afraid to crunch up some of that filo pastry as well, because essentially what we're doing is the finer we make it, the easier it is to put in the center of these cookies. So give that a good old mix through. Ugh. Try not to tip it all over to the back of the counter. I swear I'm the messiest cook ever. I've just melted a chopping board. Today is maybe not the best day for me to be in the kitchen. But anyway, we proceed. All right, so we're nearly there. It's nearly all mixed through, but as you can kind of see, it's already like reduced down massively in size, because as I've kind of just like been mixing it, I've been kind of crunching up that filo pastry. So we're nearly there. All right, I'd say we're pretty much there. So as you can see, it's all sort of come together as like a really nice fine paste, which is exactly what we want. So now we're going to clear the decks, pop this to the side, and then get ready to make our delicious double choc cookie. So now it is time to make our delicious double choc NYC cookie to hold our delicious viral pistachio filling. So first of all, we're going to add our softened butter into our KitchenAid bowl. If you don't have an electric mixer or a KitchenAid, you can just use a regular beater. I wouldn't recommend doing this by hand, because you need to be like Armstrong. Anyway, we then have our brown sugar and our caster sugar. We'll add that into our butter and put this on a low to medium speed until everything has just come together. We don't want to overmix this, as always. Oh, might help if I turn it on at the wall. Now, it's really, really important to not overmix this, as I was saying before, because essentially we want our cookies to be super chunky. So we really want to really minimize any gluten or any development, any creaming of the butter, just so that they stay nice and chunky. And that's looking pretty good already. So I will just get rid of that little nubbin of butter that really doesn't want to be mixed through. Pop that in there. And tuck him in. And then I'll just give that a little mix again, just to incorporate that last little nubbin of butter. Fabulous. And then next up, we are going to add our chocolate. So I have all my dark chocolate going in, and then give that a good old mix. Again, just until it sort of comes together. Beautiful. Then we are going to add in our dry ingredients. So for our dry ingredients, we have self-raising flour and plain flour, as always. In that goes. And then for our cocos, we have a dark cocoa powder, which is really sort of quite high cocoa percentage. I don't really know what the right term is, to be honest. And then we also have a black cocoa powder alongside baking powder and some salt. Now, you don't have to use the black cocoa powder, but it just makes these cookies super, super dark and indulgent and delicious. A bit more on the bitter flavor, so if you're not into like a really sweet cookie, it's really, really good to add in there. So we'll pop all those in and we'll mix that up. Now we basically want it to come to sort of like a sand consistency. sandy looking, which is exactly what we want. Obviously very, very dark sand, but sandy looking. Now to that, we are going to add our last few ingredients. So we've got 1 egg and 1 egg yolk going in. And then we are just going to mix this for its final mix, again on a really slow to medium pace, until everything has just come together. You kind of want it to get to a point where it is just sort of starting to hold. We don't want to beat it until everything is sort of like, I don't know what the right terminology is, but like to the death of it. Do you know what I mean? All right, that's looking pretty good to me. So you can kind of see that it kind of resembles almost like a thick sort of crumble consistency. Let's try and show you like this. So really sort of nuggety beautifulness. Now once we push this together and press it together with our hands, it will come together really nicely, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to clear the decks. I'm going to get my little container ready and my gloves ready, so that I don't get cocoa powder all in between my nails, because that is not pleasant and that doesn't look the prettiest. And then I'll be back in a second. All right, so we have our delicious cookie dough ready. We have our trusty scales. I have my magic gloves on and a little container. Now, as I mentioned before, this is about a half batch. So we will probably make roughly around 6 to 8 cookies from this batch, depending on how big you want your cookies as well. I like to go for 120 grams on the old cookie front. So nice, big, chunky cookies. Perfect. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to grab our dough, weigh out exactly what we want, and then we're just going to really, really gently push together this dough. Not too hard, not too soft. And then we're going to kind of dig our thumb in and wiggle it around slightly. You may need to do this over the bowl, but just wiggle it around slightly to make a little crevice for the pistachio spread that we're going to pop in a second. Now it is really important to make a really deep little crevice and some walls around it so that it's easy to tuck everything back in. So we're going to pop that into our container just like so, and then go through the whole rest of the dough until we are completely out of it. Alrighty, so now that I have my delicious little cookies all beautifully portioned up, I'm going to grab back my pistachio spread, and then I've also got my trusty little ice cream scoop, but a really cute little mini one. So I'm just going to portion out a nice healthy scoop. We don't want too much in there because we obviously want it to fit inside the cookie. And then I'm just going to grab my cookie and then that little crevice and just pop that little guy in there, squeeze him in, and just really, really gently close him up. Now, I had enough cookie dough batter to make 6 cookies with a little bit extra. So the extra I've just divided up into the 6 and have just made little hats for these to go on top so that everything is nice and secure and sealed. Then we're going to run through all of them until they are all done. And then once all of our cookies are filled, we can pop them into the freezer for roughly around 3 hours, minimum I'd say 3 hours, until they are lovely and frozen, and then we can bake them. So we shall see you then. Alright guys, our lovely cookies have now been in the freezer for roughly around 2 to 3 hours. My oven has been preheating. We have preheated at 180 degrees Celsius. Whilst it's been preheating, I have popped my lined oven tray into the oven so that the actual baking tray is warm before the cookies go on. It's a little trick that I'm going to give you just to help really get lovely crispy bottoms to the cookie, but the inside be super gooey and yummy. So now we are just simply going to bake them. So I'm just gonna pop all 6 of my delicious cookies on my tray, and then we can pop them in the oven and bake them for 18 minutes until they are lovely and crispy on the top and gooey and delicious in the middle. If you like your cookie a bit more well done, keep them in the oven for roughly around 20 minutes. I'd take them out 20, see how you think. Obviously the cookie's going to be really, really hot, so they're going to be a bit more softer anyway, and once they cool down they'll harden up. But I think 18 minutes is perfect. So we'll pop these in the oven now and we'll see you when they're baked. Alright guys, they are baked. They smell absolutely sensational, but I just feel they look a little bit boring on the top with nothing on them. So I've rustled together my leftover 2 jars that I had of pistachio puppy. Now there is only a tiny little bit left in these jars. So what I was thinking was just doing a little blob on the very tops of each of these cookies. Now they are a little bit warm still, so the chances are that these little blobs will end up melting on the top of these cookies, which, to be honest, I'm not mad about. But just to make them a little bit extra, I was looking for like pistachios in the cupboard and I just couldn't find anything. So I thought, do you know what, I'll just do a nice wee blob of the remainder of the pistachio spread that I had, which it's literally just gonna finish the whole entire jar. But it tastes delicious, so why not? We're just adding more delicious goodness to these. And then we can try them, and I cannot wait. Like, you guys have seen how viral this chocolate bar has basically become. And do you know what, I was actually thinking, I'd love to know who like invented the original viral Dubai chocolate bar, because it's been around for a little while, as in like going viral, but who invented it? Anyway, I'm going on a tangent. I am gonna try one of these. Honestly, I am so excited to see what the inside looks like. Right, which one are we gonna try? Let's try this one. All right. Oh my god, it's so soft and gooey. Guys, look at that. Oh my goodness, that just looks sensational. Like, granted, these are still warm, but it's like gooey, and you've still got all the melted little chocolate, and it's like crunchy and crispy on the outside. Oh my god, I have to try. I've probably got chocolate all over my face, but that is bloody delicious. It's so good. Because of the black cocoa, it makes it quite like extra chocolatey, so you don't get such a sweet cookie, which is, I think, what makes a really good cookie, especially when it's chocolate flavored. And with pistachio, it's just like so crunchy and like delicious and yummy on the inside. Oh my god, guys, like, look at that. Heaven. I think this has to be one of the best cookies I've made today. Like, that is going up there on the ranks. Cal is gonna be so happy when he gets home to try these. All right, guys, wow. I'm now covered in chocolate. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe. It has been lovely being back in the kitchen and making cookies, as always. Please let me know if you make these at home. Tag me in the comments below, or send me some photos on Instagram, and I will be sure to check it out. But anyway guys, I will see you next week in next week's video. Alrighty, bye.